Welcome to our session on building extraordinary avatars in order to build exceptional learning. Avatars are a very big part of e-learning. They can provide a sense of social connection and learning in that self-paced, very sometimes isolating experience. So we're going to talk about how we can create extraordinary avatars and how that takes us into building really exceptional learning. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're just about to get started. I am waiting for my co-presenter, Kayla Cameron, who is supposed to come join me for this session, taking a cab. So if you don't mind, just give me a second. I'll call her. Hey, Kayla, are you ready for the avatar session for Adobe?
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty good movie. Amazing CGI.
Not that avatar.
Oh, the Avatar session, right? Well, you know what? I'm on my way right now, and I'll just be a few minutes.
Okay, I'm going to start without you.
Yes, absolutely. If there's anything, you just let me know. I'm so sorry about this. You know what? I had a terrible night with the kids. Luke had a fever and he was up all night. But I will definitely be there. Just give me a bit of time.
Yes, I understand. I'll see you soon. Well, looks like Kayla will be a little delayed. Let's get started without her. So, my name is Garima Gupta. I'm the founder CEO of Artha Learning Inc. And I'll be your host and facilitator for this session. You just met on screen Kayla, who is our resident avatar, and she is very, very possessive about the avatar session. So I won't be surprised if we keep hearing from her throughout the session. Just a little bit before we start, Artha is a learning design and development firm. We focus heavily on custom e-learning design and development, as well as building AI-enabled e-learning activities, and we have a small off-the-shelf library. So that is a little bit about us. We've been very fortunate to have won a few awards along the way. In fact, we are currently asking for votes for the Training Magazine's Choice Awards, where we're nominated for the best custom development firm as well as for gamification. So if you like our work and the session, please vote for us. Okay, with that, I guess we should get started with our agenda and what are we doing today. So, as you build e-learning, at what point of time do you decide that you want to use an avatar? Right? Because avatars bring a whole bunch of benefits to the learning experience. You could create engaging and memorable learning solutions, and change the learning experience for learners a little bit. But where exactly, at what point of time do you decide, let me use an avatar for this? Every project tends to have a different process. But what usually happens is we consider the learning activities that we would want to include, and then we say, let me put an avatar who can guide learners through these activities or who can guide learners through this content. Now, what happens then is your avatar becomes a replacement for the sage on the stage, right? Just like in an in-person session, you have a facilitator or a guide, the avatar kind of takes up that role in a e-learning module. And while that can be beneficial in many times, during this session, we are going to explore 3 other avatar archetypes, right, beyond your traditional sort of mentor or a guide role. Because what happens is now, if you're in the storyboarding stage and you're writing out your e-learning module, you're thinking of learning activities, then you're thinking of the avatar. But avatars are storytelling tools. And it's not just in e-learning, right? These storytelling tools, we use them in all sorts of media, in books, in TV shows, in movies. They can be used to drive the experience instead of just being an afterthought. So if we begin with the avatar in mind and we put the focus on on interactions that the learner will learn from instead of content, then the learning experience really it changes significantly. Um, and then you can use all these different benefits that you can get from using solid, well thought of, very textured, very personality heavy avatars. We can provide a connection to the learner, right? Of course, the avatar can be used to highlight important aspects, provide assistance. Um, they basically serve as doors for alternative routes, alternative learning experiences, and sometimes even a different perspective on the learning content. So, with all of these benefits in mind, we'll think about how to use an avatar and what are the different types of avatars you can use, right? Mm. Hello, this is Kayla.
Hey, I'm just calling to make sure everything is going well so far. I'm in an Uber, so I should be there soon. Just a quick question. Did you remember to mention that starting with the design of avatars rather than starting by designing the scenario can really help shape a unique experience?
Yeah, I just told them that.
Amazing. So I'll be there shortly. You just keep doing what you do best. Oh no. Oh no. Hey, I'm gonna call you back, okay?
Oof, that didn't sound so good. But I told you guys, she is so possessive about avatars. Well, let's move on. We'll talk about the most common type of avatar that people use in their e-learning, the mentors or the guides. And we've, seen it in nearly every piece of media. So we're going to think a little bit around, who is this mentor who guides our main protagonist, in our case, the learner, towards the correct path. And usually these are people who will have some sort of hidden knowledge or they are an expert. It makes them invaluable to the success of your hero, right? So let's give it a minute to think who are those popular mentors that we've seen in movies and books. Here are some of the examples that come to my mind. Yoda, right? Wise and experienced Jedi. And, everybody looks up to him for guidance. He's revered, he's sometimes feared. Fairy godmother is really gentle, but she is there to provide guidance to poor Cinderella when need be. She does have a lot of powers as well. Dumbledore, another mentor, very clearly. Gandalf, wise, knowledgeable. And Gandalf, like he's there with the young hobbits, more or less all the way. So think about these sort of common popular avatars, which are mentors in the media. What do you see? What are the qualities that are common between them? What are the things that make them a mentor? Three big items. First, they're experienced, right? They know everything that is there to know about the topic. They are almost never wrong. You could trust their guidance. You don't have to make judgment calls yourself. When a mentor tells you something, you know it is true. They're patient, right? When you make a mistake, they are gentle. Often they'll give compassionate advice. They don't really blow a fuse or they don't berate the learner for their failures. And they are supportive, which means they are rooting for your success, right? They don't have any ulterior motives, and in fact, their supportiveness is the crux of their character. That is that is who they are. They are there to provide support and nothing else. So it's very natural to see why we overuse the mentor avatar in our e-learnings, because that is how we are, right? That's how we are looking out for the learner. So we sort of take our own characteristics and build an avatar, and that is your mentor avatar. But there are benefits to other type of avatars as well. Let's explore them now. There are companions. Now, companions are a little different than your Yodas and your fairy godmothers. They are characters who've got the protagonist back throughout thick and thin. They are together with you. So let's again think about what kind of companions we can imagine in movies and books. Han Solo, courageous, loyal. He will put himself in danger to help the Rebel Alliance. And he has had a growth curve himself, right? From a smuggler to a hero. Mushu, funny, and sometimes even selfish, but Mushu is here for Mulan's journey and grows alongside her. Aragon, honorable, dedicated, key companion in the fellowship, right? He's there for his friends, but he also has his own struggles. And of course, Ron Weasley, who is funny, who is clumsy, is loyal, but gets trapped in his own emotions, sometimes cannot see very clearly, sometimes will cause problems for his friends, but he is loyal to a fault. So those are some good examples of what does it mean to be a companion. And if you look at all of them, maybe you can think of some examples yourself. You will see that they clearly differ from mentors. And there is a similarity, but they are not same as a mentor. So what are the characteristics of a companion avatar or a companion role? They are similar to your learner, they are helpful, and they are distinct. Let me explain. Right? When I say similar, they might have their differences, but at the end of the day, they usually they remain friends. Their objective is kind of the same objective. If the learner wants to identify the correct procedures, that is what the companion also is trying to do. Yeah, they are helpful. So, and which is different from, like, they are helpful, but they might not always be of help. And that is a distinguishing marker from the mentor. The companion avatar is fallible, right? They can make mistakes. They can possibly lead the learner down a wrong path, though they don't intend to do so. And so when you are interacting with the companion avatar, you need your own judgment at times. So, for example, if you're creating a learning experience where you want the learner to be able to distinguish between the right and the wrong practice themselves, then a companion avatar could help. And a companion avatar is distinct. They have their own adventure. They are not there for the protagonist. They have their own issues and their own story, which sort of is moving in parallel with the learner. I'll give you an example of a companion avatar. We created this training for a huge credit union on diversity hiring, how to hire for diversity and merit. And the purpose of that training is to train the hiring managers on how to keep these two criteria, diversity and merit, hand in hand and look at both of them. And it's not that one thing will negate another, and that you can work for both and hire for both. And throughout that e-learning module, the learner works along another hiring manager, right? And the hiring manager is going through a number of different resumes and is making decisions, and the learner asks them about their decisions, helps them make the decision. And so the hiring manager might make mistakes, the hiring manager avatar in the e-learning. And as they are sort of going through, the learner is going through that process, the hiring manager avatar is going through that process, they are companions, and the learner learns the topic and learns the common pitfalls and methods and processes while seeing the companion's journey. Very, very powerful way of training somebody on process as they see somebody else doing something. It's easier to find mistakes in other people's work than it is in your own. So that is companion avatar. Let's look at something more interesting now, rivals. So I very, very barely see rival in e-learning content, and it creates such a fun experience. It is these are the challengers, the proverbial thorn at the side of your protagonist. Now, understand, a rival is not same as a villain, right? The rival challenges the protagonist to be better, or else. So that makes it very, very interesting. Let's think about some of the rivals in media. Cinderella's sisters, they share her goal of going to the ball. In fact, Cinderella wouldn't even go to the ball if it wasn't for her sisters going, probably. But they're basically in competition with her, right? Tom and Jerry, the most well-known rival relationship. I guess they have a tit for tat sort of feel going on all the time, getting back at each other. You have Gollum, who is vying for Frodo's ring. You have Malfoy, Draco Malfoy, who is always picked against Harry Potter since the very beginning. Competing with him, generally making Harry's life miserable, a little more difficult. So here are your examples of rivals. And you would see that in each one of the story, having a rival makes the story just so much more real and fun and interesting. So, just as before, let's think about what are the qualities that rivals have. Rivals are very common to companions in some case when we talk about qualities, right? They are also similar. Their level of expertise is probably similar. They are looking to compete and complete the same tasks as a learner is doing. Usually, they are competent because an incompetent challenger cannot really push the learner to exert more effort. So they might not be experts like a mentor is, but it's not like they know nothing, right? Uh, and they're saboteurs. They are not going to use their powers to help the learners, right? This is their most defining characteristic. They are not patient like the mentor. They are not helpful like the companion. They're there to challenge you. Creating a good rival is it takes a lot of practice, especially in an e-learning setup where you have a topic, you probably have a limited time period to take the learner through it. There is a lot of content. You need to make sure that they understand the content, they are able to apply it, they are able to demonstrate their newfound ability. So you don't have to create a pure rival. You can mix things up. You can have some of the rival characteristics built in. I'll give you a real life example again. For one of one of our projects, we created this boss character, right? So as the learner is going through their scenarios, there is this boss who is sort of keeping an eye on them. And whenever learner makes a mistake, the boss will come, they'll have some snarky comment about it, they won't be very understanding. And if in fact you make more than two mistakes, the boss comes in, boots you out, and you have to start the whole e-learning module from the very beginning. So while it's not necessarily a direct rival, it has rival-like characteristics. So very easy, very interesting way to build some fun in your learning content. And then our very last final character, proteges. Now, proteges is basically flipping the mentor avatar on its head, right? These are people that you are helping, that your learner is going to be helping. They are curious, but perhaps clumsy, and they're trying to learn. They are looking up to you, who is a learner, for advice, for guidance. They will have questions, and you will have to support them in their journey as a mentor. Let's think about some of the proteges. in the popular media. Pinocchio, perhaps, all he wants to do is to be a real boy and is under the guidance of Jiminy Cricket. Perhaps Dr. Watson, maybe. Yeah, he's competent in his own right. He's looking up usually to Sherlock Holmes to, he'll have plenty of questions. He will serve to make Sherlock Holmes look like more of a mastermind. And we get a understanding of, this is how Sherlock's thinking because he's explaining to Dr. Watson. Frodo, Harry Potter, although these are our protagonists too, they started off as proteges, right? So here is a question. What makes somebody an effective protege? What are their qualities? And how does that differ from the other three archetypes we've talked about? So let's talk about competency first. Just like the rival and the companion, a protege should be competent in some way, right? Because you don't want a truly incapable character. You don't want a learner to have to mentor them from the very beginning, because that could be quite frustrating. Plus, you might not have that much time. They are curious, they want to learn, they are motivated, they are a sponge for all the information, right? Their questioning can actually lead your learner to think more deeply about some of the work or assumptions that they have. They are reliant, right? It's not like they have a companion, for example, is on their own journey, right? They have their own identity. The rival who is distrustful of the learner. The protege is basically reliant upon your guidance. They will follow you blindly on the path. So just the reverse of a mentor. So when we build e-learning, proteges can even serve as a stand-in for the learner. They can present situations, they can create complications that the learner hasn't previously considered, right? And then they can explore the consequences of good or bad guidance and leadership and suggestions. So we discussed the 4 different types of avatar archetypes, and you can see if you start thinking from an avatar style first, it's like, I'm making this e-learning course, let me have a rival avatar there. That will change the whole flavor of your learning to a great degree. So let's talk about how to go about doing that, how to start with that. The very first thing that you want to keep in mind are your learning objectives, right? You want to think about that and then start building, because any avatar can achieve the same learning objective, but your choice of avatar is going to change how that plays out. So for an example, I've taken an example of a course here where the learner has to identify and resolve issues with lab safety, right? Now, let's think about how this will play out. If we pick up a mentor as our main avatar, we are going to, maybe that's a head lab technician. Maybe they are looking to hire a competent technician, right? They already know all the answers. They're going to check you on your knowledge, perhaps every time a knowledge check question comes along. A companion will need your help, right? And perhaps, they need your help so much. If you mess up, both of your jobs might be in danger. A rival, on the other hand, plans to sabotage you. Maybe, you guys are fighting for the same promotion or something at that lab tech. And a protege needs a little bit of help, right? So you will see, while the objective remains the same, and in all 4 cases, we are helping the learner understand how to do better at their work, how to identify the issues with lab safety. The learning experience will change significantly based on which archetype you choose. And it really helps, you pick a couple of these, you brainstorm different ideas. What sort of stories can be brought out? by this avatar? What sort of stories and experience can be brought out by that avatar? And as you compare them and you mix and match them, you would build a really interesting, engaging learning landscape for your learner. It has nothing to do with tech, right? Using, it could be a plain text focused learning experience. It could be image heavy. It could be video focused. You could have AI avatars that are simulated experiences. They respond directly to the learners. We create a lot of AI avatars where, they will have real-time conversations with learners in e-learning. But the point being that the experience, the definition of the avatar is the driving force on how the experience comes out. Now let's look at, you've thought about the learning objective. Think also about your audience. Because sometimes as we tailor our avatars and their stories, we might want to keep the learning audience in mind, because each avatar works in a different way. And some avatars might be better suited to certain audiences. For example, a mentor avatar may be more popular with trainees who require additional support, right? Because it sort of naturally yields itself to be effective when a situation requires a clear authority, compliance training, policy updates, that kind of stuff. The companion would be very helpful in situations where there are nuances or things that the learner can discover for themselves to be more effective. They will offer you more independence, and they will put a lot of critical thinking onus on the learner, which can be very, very effective for some people. A rival avatar may work best with trainees who like a challenge, right? When you do a learner analysis, and you think that, oh, this is a group or a persona that would really help with with maybe practice, with a little bit of competition, with a little bit of sort of leaderboard kind of situation, then rivals can be great for example, people who've already taken the annual compliance training and they're like, yeah, I just want, I know this stuff and I want to just see how well I remember it. And protege is perfect for learners where we want, in addition to the content itself, we want to foster, empathy, perhaps, leadership, perhaps, some sort of early managerial experience, perhaps. So that might be a great example for a great use case for using a protege. So as we were talking around types of audience, type of training, like the learning context, the topic also makes a difference, because and while this is not necessarily a one-on-one correlation, you may find that some avatars yield themselves better to one type of training versus another, right? A mentor might be good for onboarding, compliance training, technical training, because you have to show people how to do stuff. A companion is a really good choice for onboarding training, right? Because you have a new hire there and they're looking for companions. So why not provide that to them digitally in their learning experience as well? Could be good for leadership training as well. Rival, great for compliance and technical training, because both of these require steps, how to do something, or policies, rules, and we want to test people on whether they know those steps. We can create such a lot of fun simulations around these. Proteges are great for leadership training because, in addition to teaching the topics, they are great for putting those in application, in action, and testing out your leadership skills. So those are some ideas around how to choose which avatar for which training. So as you start building a training, you're thinking about your audience, you're thinking about your content, you're thinking about your learning objectives, planning out different stories with different types of avatars, and then pick what makes most sense. Once you've decided all of that, you've gone through the design phase, now you're actually looking to put together your avatar. And this is something I get asked a lot. It's like, okay, how am I creating it? And this is honestly depends on, much like anything else in your e-learning module that you're developing, and you're thinking about, all your branding aesthetics and your images and your illustrations. Illustrated avatars are probably the least time consuming to put together, right? You could use tools like Beyond, Adobe Character Animator is great. We just use it. Beautiful lip syncs. It was so much fun for this one course that we did, which was essentially technical onboarding. You could use stuff like Canva, OpenPeeps, you could have some good looking content pretty easily and quickly. In fact, even PowerPoint, you could create some really good illustrated avatars. And realistic avatars are really sort of powerful when you're looking for material there. From your authoring tools, PowerPoint cutouts, Adobe Images has great realistic avatars. And then you can create AI avatars. AI avatars are really fun because, depending on your company's AI policy, you could create AI generated avatars, and you could use language models, and you could use APIs to directly talk to an AI avatar. So that would be things where, your learner is saying or writing something, and then AI avatar is responding to that. It's very doable. We have a plugin called AI Ready that can be used with tools like Adobe Captivate very effectively and create that kind of thing very quickly. Okay, if you'd like to put this all in practice, you could create, you could do this little exercise, create a rival or a protege avatar. Take this back, think about these two topics, pick one, whether you want to create a rival or a protege, and see how you want to go about it. I actually have a handout. You could use something like this. Give a name to your avatar, maybe make an image for them. So you're flushing them out, and you're flushing their different characteristics. You pick a avatar type, right? And again, it doesn't have to be necessarily exactly this. You can create something else as well. You write a little bit about that avatar, right? What are their characteristics? How old are they? Just like we create personas, right? So you're creating a persona of your avatar here. And then for now, create the story. Okay. If it's a rival avatar, what happens? Are they competing with the learner for a promotion? Are they trying to sabotage them in some way? Are they just, a coworker who keeps egging them on something? So you build your scenario here. As you're doing this, there are 3 things that you want to consider. First, what makes your avatar interesting? Right? Because you don't want to have a run-of-the-mill boring avatar. You build some texture in it. It doesn't take too much time, just a little bit of interest in their personality. See if you can make them inclusive, diverse, right? Make them reflect the audience that you have. And then how can they get involved in your learner's life? How can they make it easy or difficult or interesting, as the case might be? So yeah, a little bit of exercise for you there. As I finish this up, and we'll take questions in just a bit, I have an ebook for you guys. You could either scan the QR code or avatarebook.arthalearning.com, which has a lot of good examples there as well, some real life case studies from our work and everything that we've spoken about here. I also invite you to connect with us on LinkedIn. We have a newsletter that goes out every month where we put in a lot of effort to make it helpful to L&D professionals. Every month we'll have a topic that we'll talk about, anything from gamification to accessibility to assessments to AI, one topic every month. So if you feel like it, please subscribe to that. That is more or less it for our session. The different things that we learned today, the more important sort of takeaways from today. thinking about remixing avatars, just stepping away from your default of a mentor avatar and thinking about, some other styles, creating a space for safe exploration for your learner. Either what's interesting here is, as you choose the avatar characteristic, you're kind of choosing your learner's characteristics too. So if your avatar is a protege, your learner has to become a mentor. If your avatar is a rival, your learner has to take part in that rivalry. So yeah, you create that fun space, and definitely avatars are just a vehicle. The most primary thing, of course, is your learning objective, the learning materials, the context that you want to give to the learners. So making sure that all these avatar experiences are in service of that experience. So that is pretty much it from us. Thank you from me and my avatar friend Kayla. I hope you enjoyed this session with me. Take care, and I'm here to take the questions.